Today we're going to talk about adding and subtracting decimals. I can add and subtract positive and negative decimals. Make sure that this is in your table of contents, please. Okay, so before we get started, I want to remind you of a page that we've already worked on. Negative and positive added together, positives and positives, negatives and negatives added together. This page is going to come in handy for us with doing these decimal problems because if it is a negative plus a positive, then we might have to do some changes and some flips and whatnot, okay? So I wanted to keep you remembering that this page is available. And also, I wanted to remind you of this page as well. If we get a subtraction problem, we can turn it into an addition problem to make it a little easier for ourselves. And then once we do that, that's when we follow the rules for adding these things, okay? So when we're adding, we've already got this page ready to go. But if they give us a subtraction problem of some kind, we can convert it into an addition problem because we already learned how to do that. And then we can follow these rules. So I know that might sound kind of strange, but just make sure that you've got those pages handy for you while we do this lesson. So let's do a recap. A positive plus a positive, okay? So let's look. What does it say to do? We're going to keep the sign positive and add the numbers together. So keep sign positive and add. Let's just do a little note. Keep sign as a plus and add. Okay, a negative plus a positive, and then a positive plus a negative. Those are the same thing. Remember, it doesn't matter the order you add in. So we're going to keep the sign of the larger number and subtract. Okay, so I'm going to do this here because they're both the same. Keep the sign of the larger number and subtract. Okay, and then negative plus a negative. We are going to keep the sign negative and add the numbers together. So keep sign negative and add. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some practice of these. So I've already written these notes for us here. So step one, what we're going to do is we're going to line up your decimals. So here's our problem that we're going to practice. What this means is if I write my first problem, 12.38, sorry, my first number, and then adding, I'm going to line up the decimal. So I find the decimal there. 0 goes on this side under the 2, and then the 5, 4 on this side. Okay, so we've lined up our decimals. Just means making sure your decimal is directly under the other one, and then whatever goes before it is lined up, whatever goes after it. Please keep these organized. It will help you so much, or you might get confused if things aren't perfectly lined up. You might accidentally add the 5 with the 8, or just get confused another way. So make sure you're lining up your digits and your decimal. Okay, step 2, we're going to add or subtract from right to left, column by column. So let's write it again. So 12.38 plus 0.54. Check and make sure yours are lined up. Okay, 8 plus 4 is 12, so put our 2, carry the 1. 3 plus 5 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So then we're going to do 2 plus 0 is 2, and then 1 plus 0 is 1. All right, so we've done step 2. Now what we're going to do is step 3. Place the decimal point in line with the other decimals. I already did that, didn't I? So if we had 12.92, so 12.38 plus the 0.54 What we do is they're saying you're just bringing it directly under, all right? So that's what you're gonna do there. Then let's do some examples. So here's the first example that we've got. So let's line it up. 145.68 minus, and now I'm gonna line up my decimal. That might help me. The 12 goes in front under that 4 and 5 digits, and then the 9 and 6 are our tenths and hundredths digits behind the decimal. All right, so now we just have to answer it. And we're just gonna answer it as it goes because we know how to do this. 8 minus 6 is 2. Can we do 6 minus 9? No, so we're gonna have to borrow from the 5 and make it a 4 and bring 10 over to make it a 16. 16 minus 9 is 7. 4 minus 2 is 2. 4 minus 1 is 3. 1 minus 0 is 1. And I'm going to bring down my decimal. So there is my answer. Did I do something wrong here? Let's see, did I? No, that's right. Okay, so our answer is 132.72. Okay, let's look at the number 2. Now on this one, we've got a negative plus a positive. Well, I hope you remember we're going to keep the sign of the larger number and subtract. So we're going to take, what's the larger number here, 98 or 43? Well, 98 is larger, so we're going to make our answer negative, and because it's the larger number. Now, we're going to subtract, and the way to do that is we're going to take the larger number and subtract the smaller number from it. So 98.7 minus the 43.87. Now, I've lined up my decimals, and I see that I have some blank space here. That's not good. Well, if you remember, every number has zeros that just keep going behind it. So all we have to do is just make one of those zeros visible to take care of that empty space. Now we can subtract. I cannot do 0 minus 7, so I'm going to take from the 7 and make it a 6, and I'm going to bring 10 over to make that 0 a 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. 6 minus 8, nope, can't do that, so I got to take from the 8 and make it a 7, bring 10 over and make it a 16. 16 minus 8 is 8. I'm just going to bring down my decimal right now since I'm there so I don't forget. 7 minus 3 is 4. 9 minus 4 is 5. And now we already know it's going to be negative because of our rule and the fact that that is the larger number. If we were making hills on a number line from negative 98 way over here, we had to keep making hills, 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 and zeros way over here. And we only made 43 hills. We would only get to about here. We wouldn't get all the way to 0 to the positive side. So let's look at our practice and make sure there aren't any surprises on there for you. On the practice, you will definitely want your rules in front of you. So on the first one, it's a negative plus a positive. So a negative plus a positive. I hope you remember what you're supposed to be doing here. On the second one, it's a negative minus a positive. So if you follow these rules that we did, let's look at this one together. A negative and a positive, okay? So, oh, sorry, this is a subtraction. We're going to change it. So we're going to take this and make it, the first one stays the same, right? A stays the same. We then change it to addition, but because we're changing it to addition, B has to become a negative. And again, I'm going to show you this page here. A stays the same. We change to addition, which means B has to change to a negative B. All right, so now it's an addition problem and it's a negative plus a negative. So you can follow the rules that we put up there for that one. And now this one is a negative minus a negative. Oh my goodness, I think I see an example right here. So you can try to figure that one out and see if you remember how to do this one. And then once you turn it into an addition problem, you can then follow what the steps are from our previous lesson as well. Good luck.